So, hello, everybody, and thanks for joining me again here at The Good Life with Steve. I am Steve, and you ever notice how whenever we hear the word shocking, we think that something bad is going to happen, or I don't know, maybe some pain is going to be involved, or something we like to avoid altogether in the first place? Well, that's probably what you think this video is going to be about, right? Because when we hear dental work taking place in the Dominican Republic, most people think, well, for most people, we picture something out of a horror movie, right? Something that takes place in a dimly lit, moist kind of room, right? Old equipment, and a dentist who learned his craft on YouTube and probably got his degree from Walmart. Well, if I'm being honest, that's that's kind of how I felt too. I had some of those same fears when I looked into getting dental work done here. But let me tell you something. The real shock, the one that made me sort of lean forward and pay attention, it wasn't a lack of professionalism. It had nothing to do with pain, but it had everything to do with what I paid. So before I get into all of that, let me take you back to the beginning because I think every good story and every good ending deserves proper context, and I think you'd agree. So let yeah, a lot of folks my age, if I'm being honest, we got fillings way back in the day, and they used silver fillings back then, and they did the job. But the thing with silver is it darkens over time, it tarnishes, right? And they can buff it up and all that stuff when you go in and get a cleaning and all that. And so, but they wear down and maybe they crack or whatever if you've had any. So I went to the dentist when I was back in the States, and the place was clean. It was nice. It was professional, right? All the bells and whistles. They, yeah, they took me in and said, you know what? Yeah, these things need to be replaced. Okay, routine stuff. No big deal, I'm thinking. They hand me the estimate, and I remember thinking, wait a minute, this can't be real, right? I'm just getting I'm just getting some fillings replaced. I'm not trying to make a down payment on a house. I'm surprised they didn't give me a 30-year mortgage to go along with it. But after all of that wore off, right, the reality hit me. A lot of people, young and old, avoid going to the dentist not because they're scared, but because they just can't afford it. And that's a terrible place to be in, right? You you come to the realization that taking care of your health, your dental health, and your physical body health also is a luxury that all of a sudden you can no longer afford. And that's a sad place to be in. You work your entire life. You do all the things you think you're supposed to do. You work, you pay your taxes, you try to save a little bit here and there. And although we can be irresponsible sometimes, but for the most part, we try to stay responsible. And then you come to the realization that, yeah, simple dental work can essentially blow your whole month's budget. Some of us, the whole year's budget. A lot of retirees are living in that reality right now. They stretch their prescriptions. They put off having procedures done. They ignore pain, hoping that the problems are all somehow going to just disappear. Well, they won't. Not because you've been irresponsible. And you know how our mind works, right? When we're in another country, every horror, every horror you've ever imagined suddenly comes alive. You start thinking, well, what if something goes wrong? And that's okay. Think that. You start to think, well, what if the equipment isn't clean? Because, proper hygiene is important. Then you start to think, I know I did, what if I can't really communicate with them what it is I'm feeling or what it is I'm experiencing? And then the worst part is, in my opinion, what if I did all of this just to save a little money and end up regretting it later? And let's be honest. When Americans hear the words cheap, cheap dental work overseas, we start thinking danger, Will Robinson, right? You know the old Lost in Space. But we've been conditioned to believe that expensive automatically means better. and that somehow your pain with a high price tag somehow feels better than affordability. And I carried some of that with me too. And I just want you to know, and I want to be honest with you because I'm human and I'm from there, right? I remember sitting in my here in my apartment just before I had to go in and have this work done, right? Thinking, well, what if all of this is a mistake? Not out of panic or fear, but just uncertainty. The little voice in my head, and I got a lot of voices in my head, so it's okay. I always talk about that, right? But it said to me, you know what, Steve? Are you sure about this? Because you can back out now. I mean, you're not in any pain or discomfort. But sometimes our fears are worse than the truth or worse than the reality. So I got up that morning and I walked into the clinic, right here in Santiago. And the first thing I noticed was the smell. See, gotcha. No, it was clean. It was fresh. Not that, not that smell you get in some places that harsh harsh sanitized, harsh chemical kind of smell. Not that, but just a clean, fresh, soft smells that indicated to me that the people are serious about their hygiene. The floors were spotless. The equipment was modern. The X-ray equipment and the LEDs, LED lights, all of that stuff. Everything was well organized. And I'm going to tell you something that stood out to me. Nothing was rushed. Back in the States, you feel you feel like the minute the minute you walk in and sit down, there's like a meter rushing, right? Or a meter ticking. Everything is fast and everything is efficient. And I appreciate fast and efficient. When you move to Caribbean, you sort of miss fast and efficient. But but everything there felt transactional. But here, everything, the whole energy was just a little different, a little calmer, like like they actually wanted to make sure that I was okay before they started sticking sharp objects into my into my mouth, right? And the staff, yeah, they were warm and they were smiling, they were friendly, they were professional. Some spoke English and but some didn't. But between their patience and my really bad Spanish, we communicated just fine. And there's a part there's a part that really surprised me. They treated me not like an expat, but like a human, not like a number, not a billing code, or not a problem that they needed to solve quickly so that they can get on to the next person. They took their time. I thought sometimes they took too much time. They explained everything. They checked in on me to make sure that I was okay. They made sure that I was comfortable. And yeah, when the dentist leaned in to do his work, I realized something. That wasn't good for the Dominican Republic. That was a good experience, period. Better than some people probably experienced back there where I come from. And I'm not exaggerating. So let's talk about the part that everybody comes for, right? The bad part. Because at this point, the work itself had already gone well. No pain, there wasn't any. Problems, weren't any of that too. Complications, everything went just fine. So now I'm sitting there thinking, okay, Steve, brace yourself, right? Because even though the experience was excellent, I'm expecting the bill to hurt. There's got to be pain somewhere. That's when, yeah, that's what we've been trained to expect. If you think about it, we are trained to expect the worst. You walk into a medical office and sometimes in the back of your mind, you're already preparing for financial trauma, aren't we? I mean, that's how I am. That's how I was anyway. And when she handed me the final total, I'm waiting for the other shoe to fall because that's what we do. In the US, the quote I received to replace my fillings was, well, let's say it was hundreds of dollars per tooth. Okay. And this is just a replacement, not a filling from the gate. This is just a replacement. So then you multiply that by several teeth because I had several. And yeah, you're looking at a bill that could ruin your month. But here in Santiago, Dominican Republic, I had 8 fillings done, right? 8. Cosmetic work? Sure. Professionally? Absolutely. High quality materials? Yep, had that too. But no shortcuts. And the total cost? $314. not per tooth, not per visit, not per side. That was total. So let me say this again so the people on the back row can hear. 8 fillings, modern clinic, professional staff, no insurance, $314. That's the real shock. Not the pain, because there wasn't any. Not the procedure, because it was quick and painless. Not the experience, because I wasn't their first rodeo. The shock is realizing how much we've been conditioned to accept suffering as normal. And you know, what really stayed with me after all of this, it wasn't the money. It was the realization that sometimes we carry old fears into new places, places where these fears don't belong. We assume the worst, we expect disappointment, we prepare ourselves to be let down. And every now and then, if we'll just give in a little, life surprises us in a good way. That is what that experience taught me that day. Not just affordable health care, but perspective. A reminder that sometimes the life we're looking for, the peace that I'm looking for, might just exist outside of the system I've spent my whole life in. Maybe it's the same way for you. Now, does this mean that every dentist that you go to in the Dominican Republic is going to be amazing? Absolutely not. You still need to do your homework, of course. Ask around and read some reviews, maybe even talk to a few expats that you trust, not just anybody, right? Make sure that you look for clean facilities, modern equipment, licensed professionals. Now, I had a guide when I went in because I'm a United States military veteran. I served in the United States military 1,000 years ago. And so when I got down here, there's this place called Well Vets, and they go with me to, if I need to go to a cardiologist or to a dentist or whatever, they go and they make sure that I get what I'm seeking, and that I'm not overcharged and everything is done properly. And they do all the translations for me. Because sometimes I'll go and they're not there, but initially they go with me. And then if ever I want them to go again, all I got to do is call them and they're right there. And I'm thankful for that because there's no choice. But once you find the right place, you may realize something that I realized. Retiring abroad, although it's nice, it's not just about the sunshine and the palm trees. Like I say, that's nice, but it's about options, and it's about dignity, and it's about having peace of mind. It's about knowing you can take care of yourself and not have to risk going broke. And maybe that's why so many people are looking beyond the borders of the U.S. right now. Not because they hate America, but because they just want to breathe again. And that, my friends, to me is a blessing. And that blessing for me is the good life. Thanks for joining me. Until next time.